Welcome to Geopoint training. Geopoint is a mapping application that is built within Tech Canary. It allows you to build efficient routes, add activities, and actually allow you to see a visual of your data in a specific territory. Let's get started by logging into Tech Canary. You should default to your home page, and from here you will see your typical headers that you usually see: home, accounts, contacts, etc. What you want to click on is the map. This will bring up the access to Geopoint. When you log into Geopoint, it should default to an area that is fairly close to you. So I'm in Hagerstown, so it brings up the map of Hagerstown. This is kind of your navigation bar. I want to point out that to the bottom here, you have a couple different icons. This is your legend to the right. It's going to show you different things once we get further in. It'll show you types of categories that are showing on the map. This little green diamond with the arrow are going to be your routes. The magnifying glass is going to allow you to search and find something specific on a map. The blue books shows you mapped layers, which are basically shapes that you have created on your map. And the yellow folder brings you back to the layers that we've already saved. When you start Geopoint, we will already have saved several layers for you, which will be your territory. It'll include counties, it might include states, and we will do whatever is needed to give you the tools that you need to get started. The first thing you always want to do when you log into Geopoint is you're going to want to click on your mapped layers. Click on this little blue book stack. Right now it looks like everything has been cleared out, but before you map something new, you always want to start by removing all layers. That will give you a fresh slate so that you're not mapping over top of other layers and pulling data that you may not necessarily want to pull in. From here, you can actually go back to your yellow folder and start with one of your saved layers. We start with clicking on the folder of President. In today's example, we're going to focus on Daryl Henry, and we will show you the territories that he has. So as you can see here, we have two different types of icons under Daryl's territory. We have this green kind of blob looking thing, which is going to be the counties and also potentially his territory. These are going to be called shapes. And then down here we have these three dots that are different colors. These are going to be your data points. So this is going to be, once you select the shape that you want to map within, you'll add the data to it to see what you actually have in a specific area. So just to give you an example, if I were to pull up Frederick County, this just shows me a shape on the map of Frederick County, but no data is on there. It just shows me that that is what Frederick County looks like. Another example would be if I wanted to see all of what Daryl's territory looks like, I could select Daryl's territory. And notice when I mentioned the map layers, you can still sort of see Frederick County highlighted differently, but it's within his entire territory. So again, I can see over here that I have two icons by my stack of books, and I'm going to go over and I want to remove all layers so that I can start fresh. I'll return to my yellow folder, and for today's examples, we will just use Frederick County. We're going to click on that. Along the top here are a couple other options providing me with what type of data I want to show. So before I map any of my data points, which can be broken down by all accounts, I could do it by account types, I could do it by customer account types, I could do it by C codes, and so on. But before I do that, I want to know my range in which I want to map the data. So right now I'm sitting on the shape range, which that means that if I were to map all of Daryl Henry's accounts right now, it will only map data points that are within this specific shape. If I select it everywhere, it will actually map anything and everything that is assigned to Daryl Henry as all accounts. So even if he had something in, say, California, he would actually have that map to this map. If I select Map View, it will also select items outside of the territory, but it will only show me anything that could fit onto what is visible on my actual screen right now. And last but certainly not least, if I add nearby, all that will do is I can specifically set a location, say Frederick, Maryland, or an address on Frederick, Maryland, and it will map a radius from that location. I can select that radius to be whether it's a mileage, like 5 miles from Frederick, Maryland, or I could say 5 minutes of driving time from Frederick, Maryland. And we'll review that a little bit later. So let's start today by just using the shape. and we're going to map all accounts for Darrell Henry into his Frederick County shape. So as you can see here, there are a whole bunch of different bubbles that mapped inside of Frederick County. And you can see some are blue, some are green, and they have different letters on them to denote which ones are which. In order for me to know which ones are which, I can actually select here on my legend down here, and I can tell that the yellows are the active agent onlys, greens are going to be customer, and we have prospects and so on. Let's just say that I only wanted to look at my prospects today. What I could do is I can actually hide all of the data points and then click on my prospects. So I can click and remove different types of categories in my data points. So again, if I go back to showing all, if I wanted everything but customers, I could remove customers by clicking on it. So for today's example, I'm actually going to hide them all and reselect prospects because I'm interested in doing some prospecting. So a couple things that we can do on here, can actually see the details of that account. So I know that this prospect is St. Paul Evangelical Lutheran Church of Utica. I have the address, if it's a prospect, which I know because I already selected that. I have the phone number, customer code. If it was a customer, I would actually know the total annualized premium and so on. From here, I can actually click on this blue link, and if I do, it takes me right into the account on Tech Canary. That if I wanted to either make any notes or I wanted to see any additional information, I certainly could do so. But now I'm going to click back over to the map. Another thing that I can do is I can actually scroll down and I could actually add this to route, which we'll talk about in a little bit, or I could even create a new event, log a call, or a new task from here. So for example, if I was at this one in particular, I could just click log a call and it takes me to that field and I can add activity right from the map. But I'm not going to do that right now. Another thing I could do is I could say zoom and center. And what that will do is it takes me, as you can see, there were all those data points, but it takes me a little further into the map so I can see specifically where this is located. To get this kind of back out, I can actually go over to my plus or minus here and I can zoom back out. From here, what I'd like to do is I want to show you how you can actually make a route. So let's just say that today you have an appointment. Maybe Sandy set you an appointment here at Edgewood Church of the Brethren. So I'm going to click on that and we'll say that we have an appointment there. So I'm going to add that to my route. One thing I might be able to do is I could actually take that and I could say, okay, well, I want to just click the ones. If I zoom in here a little bit, I want to take things that are a little bit closer to that particular account, and I could select them individually and view my route. Another option would be I could locate an address and I could put that in and I could go back to my nearby and create a radius. For now, what I'm going to do is I am just going to select on these and I'm going to click add to route. So I'll say that I'm going up here and now I've added 3 points of interest to my route. In order to view the route, what I would do is I would click over here on this green diamond with an arrow which says 3. It shows me that I have 3 points of interest. And I can click on here and it has actually built me out a mapping route. What I could do too is I can click on this optimize, which will calculate which one is the best route. So maybe it's going to tell me I should probably start here and calculate that based on traffic and other unknown things that we might not be able to know. Another thing I can do is I can actually click up here. There are a couple icons, and up here I could click on weather. So I could kind of look at my cloud and I could know if I'm going to run into any type of weather while I'm on the road. Or I could also click on my traffic. And what that will do is it'll kind of show me along my route whether or not I have any traffic issues that I might need to be concerned about. But as of right now, what I have is my map, and I can even save this so that I can save my route, or I could print it to a PDF and I could build it out that way. Another option is if you're using the Geopoint in your mapping application on your mobile, you could actually click on the Google Maps and you could hook it into your GPS. So let's go back to our map. So what I think I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back over to my map and I'm going to remove my layers again. and I'm going to clear my route as well, and I'm going to start over. If you were in a specific location, and let's use Frederick County again, we could use our Google bar to find a location, and I could select this FCF church, which is Hansonville Road. So I'm going to select 10142 Hansonville Road, Frederick, Maryland. And I'm going to select that as my location. And if I go back over here to my saved folder, I can go up to my nearby, as I had mentioned before, and I now have this as my address that I'm starting from. From here, I could actually put in driving minutes, and I'm going to select 20. As I mentioned before, you could do miles as far as a distance, you could do hours, you could do minutes. I'm going to do 20 minutes. I want to know if there's anything within 20 minutes of this specific church. And now I'm going to once again click Darrell Henry All Accounts. And you will notice if I close out this specific location that there are all of these accounts within 20 minutes of that location. So what I think I want to do instead is maybe I really only want 10. There we go. So now I actually have fewer accounts, and I may want to go in and I want to look at customer codes. So this isn't necessarily going to tell me specifically the customer codes because this is really looking at customer status, prospects, and customers. So what I could do is I can actually take my next data point and I can map on the C codes. So I'm going to click C codes. And you will notice that it still maps the same data points, it's just going to overlay. So when I want to look at one, it'll tell me that there's 2 records at each location. And until you click on it, you'll see that they're exactly the same. It's just one is going to show you that it's a prospect and the other is the C1. It's the same account. And I could have removed one of the data layers, but I just left it on there, which is fine. So now if I want to, I can actually go back to my legend and I can take my all accounts off and hide those and keep my C codes on. And now maybe I only want to call on my C3s and C4s. And that's going to be my route for the day. So by doing so, now I can go back through and I can actually add to the route and I can see that I have fewer accounts that I'm going to need to build. Another option that I'd like to show you that people find beneficial, and I'm going to start by clearing off my map completely, is I'm going to remove all layers and I'm going to go back to my folder and I'm going to go into shape. And I'm also going to clear off this up here so that I can start fresh. So now we're going to start with Frederick County. And I'm looking at doing some lead generation. So maybe I don't necessarily want to know of accounts that are already in my database, but I want to know of some new stuff that I might be able to add. So one way to do that would be if I'm looking for churches in Frederick County, I could Google that. And if I type in churches in Frederick, Maryland maybe, and I search that, you will notice that it will actually bring up a little church icon on my map. So this is not our data, but this is showing Google's data of all of the churches that they are saying are in Frederick, Maryland. Now if I wanted to see if I have them in the database, I could go back over and I could once again add my all accounts within my shape. I will load those. So now if I zoom in to the churches that I was looking for as far as those, I can see, which makes sense because we don't typically add Catholic churches, I can see that this one is not yet in our database, but we don't necessarily want to add it. But it will identify anything that doesn't have an icon. So look here, this looks like a First Baptist church. It may be that it just doesn't have a proper address and we don't have it, but if we wanted to double check, we could actually from here create a lead. And it would just be like the exact same lead that you create in Tech Canary, and you would be able to save it. So that's an example of how this tool can also be used for checking what's in the database and also for adding lead generation. I hope that you found it beneficial. We do know that a lot of agents that are using this right now have actually said that they were able to hit approximately 25 prospects in one day, making their day much more efficient than it would have been without this tool. For additional information, please feel free to reach out to myself or Bill Bloom. and we will be happy to get you set up and assisted with this if you have interest. Thank you.